If everyone could join me in. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good afternoon, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order. Thanks to the museum, thanks to Pueblo, thanks to Greg for our wonderful tour this morning. Excited to be here. Let's start with whether there are any amendments to the agenda.
No amendments for staff, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any others? Great. Let's move on to approval of the meeting minutes. I believe everyone has the minutes from the August meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the workshop?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion second, any discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? Great. And would entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from August.
I'll move.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor? All opposed? Great. Let's move on to board member reports. Bree, how about we start with you?
Do not have much to report, other than I attended the NBAA Safety Day at Centennial a couple of weeks ago. For anybody who did not get a chance, I believe they're going to try to do it annually. I think it was very, very interesting. I think it would be very valuable for anybody who's sort of interested in everything that's happening statewide, initiatives, some of the concerns and all of that. So I'm grateful to have had the chance to attend. And I do encourage everybody to get a chance next year. I think it's a very good thing. Oh, actually, I did hear, I know that we're gonna discuss later the adoption across airports of unleaded fuel and the transition there. But it is my understanding that Odyssey Pilot Hours at Erie Airport does have their own tank and they are using the unleaded fuel privately. So I just wanna, from the community perspective, give them a shout out for that. Like, that's terrific. Really, really happy to hear that and looking forward to more airports moving to make that transition.
Great. Thank you, Bree. Daniel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could be relatively quick here. A lot of construction projects going on out on the Eastern Plains. Just talked to Lyman. They're in the process. Actually, the runway is closed right now for doing some crack repair and redoing some of the panels on the runway and the taxiways. And let's see, Ray has a new airport manager. Boyd Clark is the new manager there. Ray, I've known him for a few years now. I used to fly with him. He's really excited to get going. And Kip, I know he's talked to you a little bit and trying to get his feet, trying to hit the ground running. So that's good for them. Just finished a taxiway rehab project there at Ray. Changed from a weird high-speed layout to a nice 90 degrees so they can have the infrastructure in place to do a full length in the future there. So that's kind of a tiered approach there that they're doing. Let's see, Yuma's got pavement maintenance that I believe, I don't think if they already have that done or not. I wasn't able to get a hold of Karma there in Yuma this last time, but they're getting ready to put their new terminal building in at Akron, which is gonna be exciting. I saw some drawings. It's gonna be a really neat little building. They've got new ramp space right outside of there as well. Let's see. That is about what I have for those guys. Burlington, we have our taxiway project done where everyone's loving that so far. Working on a lot of stuff next year. We got a Fox Seal coming up. And if I can find a way to get some money from Todd, the entry road, I had to rib you about that. We got an old crumbling entry road that is not classified as anything. So in the eyes of everybody, it's a driveway and it's our main access to the airport. So it's a difficult time trying to find funding to have that thing redone, but we're working on that. So I'm going to save my my Pueblo update because Greg's going to be speaking here in the airport update section. But I did want to point out that we brought Oh, we had probably 12 kids and another 12 or 15 family members out to the air show, and it was awesome. They came out on Sunday. The weather was great. The show was great. We had a blast. So kudos on putting that air show together. It was fantastic. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you, Daniel. Trim?
So my report will include Pilots Association, Aviation Business Association, Women in Aviation 99 for today. Fairly short CPA, basically it's a social for Christmas coming up. And a little bit of what? Silly season? Yeah, we call it silly season. Yeah. So CPA's dinner is gonna be Sunday, December 1st. And Bree, you talked a little bit about the Aviation Business Association teaming with NBAA at the event you went to. They held that, and then last week they had a social at Flight Co as well. CABA is going to be holding their Veterans of Foreign War holiday airlift on December 11th. So if you're interested in donating for the VFW airlift, that will be December 11th. Women in Aviation tomorrow is touring TRACON and having a Christmas holiday social at Flight Co in November. And then the 99th is finishing up their paper run this week. They went to Wyoming and Colorado. And I don't know when their Christmas is.
Thank you, Trim. Okay,
Sure.
Kevin, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. My sincere apologies for not being able to be there in person. The museum looks impressive from this angle. So thank you again. Apologies and nothing to report.
Mark?
Well, first off, it's wonderful to be down here in Pueblo. Thank you for hosting us. It's nice that we get out of Front Range and get to see a little bit more of really what's going on around the community. We're like 15 days now into the government shutdown and the impacts are being felt in different places. One of them, of course, is in air traffic control. Our air traffic controllers are designated as critical safety functions. So that means they're required to work, but doesn't mean that they'll get paid. They get paid on an infrequent basis, and we'll see how all that plays out. There is obviously an increase in sick time now. They're not getting paid for that, even though that's not really a legal way to do it, but we see some of that. So, well, my message is, that we continue to have, pretty robust air traffic control. And so I'll get control of it soon. They're still doing their jobs, but not getting paid. So I think that's a issue. The other thing, of course, that's, that the industry is seen in different ways is around the tariffs and one of those companies that's local in the Front Range, that also has a big economic driver for us is Pilatus Aircraft over at Bloomfield. And I'm not sure how much people know about Pilatus, but that's their U.S. finishing facility. It's 118,000 square feet, where they bring aircraft in from Switzerland and do the final finishes on the inside on paint. In 2022, they built a new paint facility over there. That's also an additional 28,000 feet. They employ about 200 folks, but right now, Pilatus is not sending aircraft to the U.S. because the tariff is 49%. Last year, Pilatus around the world delivered 51 PC-24s and then 96 PC-12s. So the PC-12 is something we see a lot of. We're seeing more of the business jets. About 40% of those come to the U.S. and go to the U.S. market. They get finished over at Bloomfield. So it's just, that's a great facility. It's a great company. It's an important driver of the local economy. And one that, at some point, we ought to see about, this maybe having. Thomas Bessard, who's been their CEO, US CEO for Pilatus for the last 23 years. It's retired at the end of the year. They haven't made a replacement for any of that, but also a great contributor to the local communities in a number of different ways. Yesterday in the Denver Post, there was a great article on DIA. If you haven't seen it, it's worth reading. Again, another important, obviously, economic driver for aviation and for our community. The article talks about the things that we know, which is that DIA is the third busiest in the US and sixth busiest airport around the country. But one of the things that it said that I had forgotten about that I thought was of interest is that the original terminal was built to handle 50 million travelers a year. And last year, in 2024, the airport handled 2.5 million. So it talks a little bit about the construction fatigue that people are experiencing as they go through the terminal. But that's just about over. With both of the new TSA areas open, that's a tremendous improvement for everybody. And so that's a really good article. I think that besides the train, which is maybe let's keep and see all the other difficulty that the airport was facing, and it's going to be very hard. So finding a way to fund that, the amount of traffic on the area is also a bottleneck to the airport. But again, what a great asset that I have Steve and folks do a terrific job and making it work every day and other elements of industry. And then the last thing I just want to make a shout out to somebody that most people don't know, but to a gentleman named Tom Letts, who has been I guess almost for the last 20 years, has been the Young Eagles coordinator for both the Wings of the Rockies and EAA Chapter 301. Every month, Chapter 301 and Wings flies between 25 and 30 students. So in his time there, he supported more than 300 Young Eagle flights, far more than that actually. But he retires from that position, and I'm not sure who's going to be appointed, but we have a very, as you know, hey, I didn't know that. Bad. You got big shoes to fill. But that's the Young Eagle program in Colorado is one of the more robust ones in the country. In 2023, Tom was Young Eagles Volunteer of the Year, one of 4 designated by EAA. So, Eddie, that's great. All right, we'll talk after it. So, you do a fantastic job. So, foundations there, and that's one of the things. Thank you, Mark. Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair. So the Colorado Air and Space Board working through the design for the replacement of the fuel pump, including an unleaded tank, also working through the expansion of a few taxi lanes. That's true, right?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Absolutely.
Colorado Springs Municipal just hosted the Northwest American Association of Airport Executives Conference last week at the Cheyenne Mountain Resort. Really well. The county, they completed a rehabilitation of their main ramp this summer, and they're exploring the opportunity to install unleaded fuel infrastructure in 2026. Northern Colorado Regional is currently under design for their runway widening project planned for next summer. And Rocky Mountain Metropolitan working on the installation of an unleaded fuel system of a few large taxiway expansion and rehabilitation projects. So that is my list of things, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Angela?
I have a short report today. Obviously, there's been a lot of growth on the Western Slope and population densification. So lots of project needs on the west slope. So airports are working on creative ways to fund those projects, including the TIA program, which is a federal loan program. So there's a couple of airports, including Grand Junction, who are looking into that program. Since it was expanded for airports, especially the fund projects. The hangar at Telluride has opened, because I think everyone knows, and Penny is very excited. So I'll see that. And then the airport commercial, so, you know, we were able to secure the grant funding that we all had planned in our CIPs, and then in Grand Junction, that day was able to secure an extra $38 million for our runway project for the end of the year, bringing our total to over 55 million for the year, which is huge dollars. I mean, putting in perspective, an airport like ours has a net operating of $1 million a year, so we're really excited. It keeps us on track for opening runway in 2029, maybe a little early, and on the first phase of paving, which will go out very shortly. So, lots of good stuff happening on the western slope, but a lot of airports with, you know, kind of their heads down, just getting work done and getting our projects figured out.
Thank you, Andrew. Steve? All right. Oh, Commissioner, sorry to interject.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say thank you, Greg, for all of this in my report. That's it.
Here, here.
Thank you, Greg.
Yes. Thanks. And yeah, so Greg Rose is our host today, but also is on board of Colorado Airport Operators Association. Just got named as a secretary president. So congratulations.
Oh.
CAOA, Colorado Airport Operators Association, just want to mention, they're going on a really, I guess, call it a membership drive starting this month. Pretty much every airport, or organization that's a member is out of date with their dues. That's on purpose though. That's because they've been working on the back end of their website, trying to make it easier. So you know when it's time to pay, who's paid, who's a member, who's not. There's been a lot of confusion. I can say when I started attending CAOA back in I don't say anything, but it was well after 1920. But they had about 30, there were about 35 people that would show up at a conference, and now it's over 200 consistently. So they still have been using the same system for keeping track of memberships and payments, and so it was well overdue for some sort of a rehabilitation of the system. That's being done. It's been done, actually. It's in place. So now we're trying to get members to go to the website as an organization, create an account and pay your dues. And then from there, you'll be able to have your people get membership rates on things like conferences and access to other areas and that sort of thing. So please do that. The next conference is going to be here in, not here in Denver, but in the Front Range, Denver. January 27th, 28th. You can go on the website right now and buy tickets. You just won't get that member rate unless your organization has gone in and set up that account. So please do that. Looking forward to January. And then the only other thing I had was really related. Last time I brought up some what seemed like proposed legislation related to drones. The big concern that I had and a few other people had was related to making sure that with the way that's been worded, making sure that local jurisdictions are able to protect their critical infrastructure from drone operators, particularly nefarious types. Most that we see, almost all are really just decent people, don't know if they're doing anything wrong. That's not what we're concerned with. They make sure that we're protective of our airports and other critical infrastructure. We found a group, and I think Dave's talked to them as well, but the group that is pushing that has not proposed it yet in the legislative process, but they're very open to our comments, making adjustments. So that alleviates a lot of the concerns that I had. We're gonna work with us in making sure that wording is protecting us as airports and making sure that it still says states like this. So that's my report.
Great, thank you, Steve. I'll take just a moment. The 33 Victor runway resurfacing project is now complete. I was very fortunate and a little bit lucky to be the first to land on the new runway, and it was absolutely smooth. Everybody just did such a wonderful job on it, and the celebration was wonderful. I just don't think I've been to an event with so many grateful, happy people for the incredible collaboration between the division and Department of Local Affairs. So just eternally grateful. It's going to serve us for decades. So really happy about that. And thank you all again. All right, should we go to airport updates? Greg?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. Board members, thank you. Again, welcome to Pueblo. We're honored that you have your meeting here today with us, and hopefully you found it joyful, eventful, and hospitable. A little bit of a couple slides here. I've got a lot of animations on them to try to keep it going and keep us a little jazzed about it. But Pueblo Memorial Airport, I'm Greg Pedroza, the director. Sir, Sean, click. It's going to be what's new, what's happening here at Pueblo Airport. Denver Air Connection is our new essential air service provider. They're keeping our communities connected to DIA through daily round trip flights with an Embraer or a Dornier jet. So we're happy to have jet service back in Pueblo, and their reliability, their times are probably a little bit questionable. We'd like to see them earlier and come back later, but just we're happy that we have somebody operating regularly now, and they've been very receptive to our feedback. So we're happy to have them as partners, and they have been great so far out of the gates. We have some marketing issues that we need to tidy up and dig us out of the hole that Southern Air Express had sort of put us into over the last couple of years. So we're absolutely stoked that they are our partners now. They had a great presence at the Pueblo Chili and Frijoles Festival a couple of weeks back. They had an excellent presence at the State Fair, if anybody saw their booth there. And then at our air show, they were also one of the prime sponsors. So they are doing what they can to get their name out there and reintroduce our community to reliable jet service yet again. So we're happy to have them. Our friends at Freeman Jet Center just let us borrow their van. So let's say hello and thank you to them before the end of our trip here. If you haven't gone into their FBO, it is top notch. It is an executive style ambiance there. It's very welcoming, and they are the backbone, I guess, of our general aviation here on our airfield. They are doing an excellent job. I don't want to leave them out of anything we're doing here today. Please do stop me out there and say hello to them, introduce yourselves, and experience the friendliest FBO in Colorado is what we're saying, but definitely very memorable. If you haven't been through their building, please do today. And then, of course, we just had our Pueblo Wings of Pride Air Show, September 27th, 28th. That Friday, the 26th, was the practice day. So, of course, I was here for all 3 days. And even by Sunday, I was still going, wow. It was amazing. The Thunderbirds were the highlight and the headliner of the show. But a lot of community support, a lot of demonstrations, aerial demonstrations that just blew my mind. Again, even 3 days in a row. I was sick of being here after that, but it was still like great. I mean, it was still outstanding. A little cautionary tale there that we allowed the promoter to take a lot of the responsibilities. Us as a community had to come together at the end and try to make sure we got them through over the finish line. So just keep that as a precautionary tale. That don't let somebody who says they're going to do it all do it all. You still need to be in charge of it, and you still need to take the responsibility that needs to be there. So lesson learned there. The city of Pueblo is super excited that the opportunity may arise again, that we can do maybe one ourselves or find a promoter that would be a little bit more conducive to working with. So sorry guys, I don't know what that is over there, but anyway, sure. So what's coming down the pipeline? Our FAA CDOT funded projects. We have a ramp rehab directly north of the air traffic control tower that's slated to go. You can see kind of the reptilian spalling there of that strip of the ramp. We're going to see all that paved new. Thank you, Sean. T-hangers and taxi lane improvements are coming up over here on our southwest side of the airfield. So those were bill funds, bipartisan infrastructure legislation. So we're happy to see that that qualified, and we're looking forward to getting that. We got it we got it approved last night by city council. So as soon as we get a notice to proceed on that, we'll have a row of 10 T-hangers coming our way. So, sir, potential terminal remodel. We're now in the 5th year of applying for bill funds that are specifically allocated for air terminal improvements or air terminal projects. So we're going to put our name in the bin for that again and try to get our $5 million rehab of new facade and safety bollards for a little more ease of passenger flow, interior design update improvements, and most importantly, a restroom on the secure side of TSA. We currently do not have that. It's a little glass box that's almost like a greenhouse in there. We want to expand that, double the size of that, and put some restrooms and concession in there. So all of that is my vision and hope that we can see that get funded. The city itself, our Mayor Graham, has also put a sort of a back route to say, if we don't get that funding again, strike 5, I guess, at this point, we're going to find a way to do these improvements locally and invest in our infrastructure. So I'm very thankful that the mayor's office and the current city administration sees the value in our airport. Even though we're 6 miles out of town, they still consider us part of the city and are willing to spend some city dollars out here. So we're thankful for that. Sure. Okay, so what's coming else? FAA Air Traffic Control Tower. The FAA has done some due diligence and done some strategic planning. They are planning to invest in our airport again with a brand new air traffic control tower. Totally FAA funded through their tower construction project funds. Identified a spot directly south of the existing tower into this. We have what's called our long-term parking lot there just to the south. They're going to take up that entire footprint there and put a almost 200-foot tall air traffic control tower. So we're excited for that. If we can, sir. We just get that past the finish line and we'll see a new tower. It'll be the tallest building in Pueblo. And finally, CAOA will be here next summer for our spring conference. So we invite you all to come and see us again there. Hopefully your time here was enjoyable and we'll see you back. We're excited to host CAOA here for the spring conference. So with that, I'll leave it open for any questions. Thank you very much. Questions, comments? We will have an airport tour opportunity after today's meeting. So if anybody wants to stick around, I still have the van. Dave, I'll go look for your phone here shortly. And then we can go out and view. Oh, you got it. Awesome. We'll go view the airfield. So thank you.
Your tower, is that FAA tower?
It is FAA owned and manned. Yeah.
Okay, and it's FAA and
not contract. Correct. FAA and employees. Correct. Thanks again.
Thank you. Hey, Eric. Do we have Eric?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Well, one, I'd like to extend a big thank you to the opportunity to speak to the board. A big thank you to Mr. Story on allowing me this opportunity. I'm introduce myself. My name is Eric Hawkes. I'm the operations director for Rio Blanco County. If you guys don't know where we're at, I'm here on the we're here on the northwest part of Colorado. Mr. Story asked me to speak here because we were discussing during our capital improvement project planning the importance that our airports had in wildland fire responses. For everybody that's probably familiar, I'll still cover it here in August. We had 3 fires, wildland fires break out in Rio Blanco County. We had the Lee and Grease fire that was located southwest of Meeker. And then we had the Elk fire that was located east of Meeker. The Lee and Grease fires combined, and they are now 100% out. However, they did consume, the Lee fire grew to 137,000 acres, which I believe is the 4th or 5th largest wildland fire in Colorado's history. And the Elk fire was at just over 14,000 square miles of wildland fire. During that, to give some brief history of Rio Blanco County, we are the airport sponsors for two general aviation airports, the Meeker Airport, which is located here in Meeker on the east side of the county, and then we have the Rangeley Airport located on the west side of the county. As much as everybody else, our budgets are tight. Revenue is important, and it's always tough to emphasize the critical nature of our general aviation airports when discussing priorities with our commissioners and, of course, our constituents of Rio Blanco County and the taxpayers. The avocation to keep our airports continually improved and up to standards was on full force during the wildland fire responses. Although we would have liked to see more operation out of the Meeker Airport, given the proximity that the Lee fire got so close to Meeker, we did have to re-coordinate those efforts to the Rifle Airport, and I believe some were coming out of Craig. However, with that being said, there's also additional support. Our airports were widely used for early evacuation. There's a number of residents upriver that have businesses and ranches, and they utilize the airport for evacuation early on before the wildland fires grew. However, during the wildland fire responses, the airport was utilized for coordination effort and then also secondary response areas for the airports. It just goes to show you, given the rural nature of Northwest Colorado, especially when you start looking at the maps, here in Rio Blanco County, I believe we're the 6th largest county in Colorado, the 6 or 7, and we only have 2 small communities, Meeker and Rangeley, that are roughly about 2,800 people. And so for a county our size to manage and operate 2 aviation airports sometimes becomes taxing, especially when there are other priorities competing for those fundings. It has been awesome as stepping into my role working with the FAA team and Colorado Aeronautics Division in supporting us and finding funding for our projects. With the wildland fires being put under control, we did have a general aviation, our small aircraft apron rehab project was slated to start August 1st or August 2nd, and the fires impacted that by 1 month. However, we hit the ground running the moment everything was cleared and accessibility to the airport was approved, and we're currently under that project. We've paved phase 1 of it, and we're getting ready here in the next week to pave phase 2 and complete that apron project, and looking forward to starting our new fill farm project at our Meeker Airport. And then efforts will turn around and be heavily focused on improvements at our Rangeley airports.
Great, thank you, Eric. Questions?
Is it those 2 airports you have, Rangeley and Meeker?
Was whether you have 2 airports, Rangeley and Meeker, and I believe that's what he said.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have we're the sponsors of both Meeker Airport and the Rangeley Airport.
How big is that? That's going to be a huge county.
We are, off the top of my head, I'm not certain on size. However, population density, everybody gets one square mile, and at 6,600 people, so about 6,600 square miles, and then we're 71% public lands.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You have a very important flight school there too, don't you?
Yeah, so Colorado Northwest Community College has a flight school at our Rangeley Airport. They operate out of that, and that program is growing semester by semester. We're happy to see that and support that. And then we have a couple local flight instructors here in Meeker that are conducting their own flight training programs.
Great. Eric, thank you so much. Scott, appreciate the suggestion. Okay, we'll move on to public comments, and I understand we have Brad Walker signed up to speak. Brad?
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry I cannot be there. I want to say thank you, though, to Pueblo as well as the museum for hosting the Aeronautical Board. I was really excited to be down there. In addition, I advocated very strongly for the air races to be at Pueblo, so I'm not happy that that didn't happen, but hopefully I know you folks put a good effort in trying to gather that event. I know several members have been using their position to basically target front range airports, and I would like to remind the board that your position on this board is to represent everyone statewide and not to necessarily target front range airports, in particular RMMA, as well as Boulder and Erie. I've said these comments in the past, and I think the state attorney mentioned this at the beginning of the year. I would think it would behoove the chair to maybe have the state attorney come and give a friendly reminder to everyone that you represent interest across the state, and your anti-airport activities could be perceived as counterproductive and maybe even contrary to the board charter. Like I said, I think the chair having the state attorney give a friendly reminder to everyone at the next board meeting would be helpful, lest we find ourselves with some legal fireworks in the future. I hope to meet the two airport directors that just talked. I'm working on visiting every airport in the state of Colorado, and I look forward to meeting you folks. And that's my comments. You folks have a great day, and thank you for taking my time. For taking my comments.
Thank you, Brad. Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, as Sheriff also noted, it was really cool on the 30th. Kent and myself and Kit and Sean were able to travel up to Walden. It was very cool to present Jackson County two big checks, one for our $4.2 million grant and one from DOLA. So it was very cool that we were able to partner with the Department of Local Affairs. They typically do not fund airport projects. They're eligible, but this was really cool. It was the first time on a scale of this magnitude that we jointly funded projects. The joke was the runway was already done, so we hope those two big checks actually cleared. I think they did. But I'll have Sean play that video real quick that he put together from the Walden visit that we did back on the 30th. Very cool.
In the heart of Colorado's North Park region, surrounded by the rugged beauty of the Rocky Mountains, a vital community asset in Walden, Colorado, just received a major upgrade.
Our runway really hadn't had a significant improvement in over 40 years. It's one of those assets you don't realize you don't have till you can't use it anymore. So we had a great collaborative effort with the state, DOLA, and Jackson County to repave our runway for our airport up here.
And people came together to celebrate an important milestone for one of Colorado's most remote and rural communities.
We're so fortunate to be here today to celebrate the reopening of our airport.
After months of hard work, 5,900 feet of newly constructed runway is now open, enhancing a critical lifeline for the Jackson County community.
I'm Jim Reiser, head of EMS here, and we utilize the airport quite often during the year. Every time we use it, it's for life and death.
More impactful for our community is the services it provides, especially in emergency medical services. But then even in a broader scale, this is a fantastic airport for wildfire protection, because we've had some of the most significant wildfires in the state's history in this area, and this serves as a great point for them to utilize for their equipment.
Unlike most airport reconstruction projects, this one was completed without any federal funding. Instead, this $5.7 million project was made possible through a partnership between the Colorado Division of Aeronautics, the Department of Local Affairs, and Jackson County. A collaboration that turned vision into reality.
There's many around the state, like Walden Jackson County, that don't qualify for federal funding. So local officials have been working with the Division of Aeronautics for years in conjunction with Lochner, and the Department of Local Affairs came in with an absolute much needed match to make this runway resurfacing project happen.
It's incredible that I'm going to say 99% of this project was funded by the state of Colorado, which is incredible.
The Colorado Division of Aeronautics was started for just these kinds of purposes.
This is exciting, right? At the Department of Local Affairs, we exist to strengthen local governments, and we're doing just that by the support we've provided here.
With the new runway open, the Walden Jackson County Airport is ready to serve for decades to come, keeping Colorado's high country communities connected, safe, and ready to support the citizens and visitors of North Park, Colorado.
Our airport was in the worst condition of any airport in the entire state, and now we have a brand new runway thanks to the Division of Aeronautics, thanks to the Department of Local Affairs, that's going to serve us and serve this community for decades ahead.
For those in the room, it looks like the audio dropped on the phone. If you could help us reconnect.
What I wanted to do is give you just a quick sneak preview of what we're looking at for the unleaded transition brands. And again, I think you all know, every year we set aside under House Bill 1235, the lesser of $1.5 billion or 10% of our annual CDAC program for unleaded infrastructure funding. So for 2026, this is what we've got in the mix now based on the applications and the conversations that we've had with the airports. Colorado Air and Spaceport funded the design, part of the design for their new fuel farm last year. This year we'll be helping to fund part of the construction. Centennial, it will be a continued match for their unleaded fuel subsidy. That grant, sorry.
Sean, were you able to fix the audio?
Yeah.
Okay, is it back?
Yeah, should be.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I just wanted to make
Kevin,
sure.
can you hear us?
Can they hear us okay?
Kevin, do you got us?
Yep, we got you. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. No, you got it. Cool. So, sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah. Centennial's grant may be either postponed or a little bit different. They haven't quite used all of their existing grant for the unleaded fuel subsidy, so we'll have them extinguish that one before we implement a new one. Rocky Mountain Metro, that's one that we expect another subsidy grant there, and then also one for the Colorado Air and Space Board. So you can see what we're looking at there for next year. It's not total because we do have one outside grant there for 2029. I wanted to show the conversations we're having in the Grand County right now, but just wanted to give you all a sneak preview of what we're seeing. We have very clearly and very frequently articulated this program to all of our airports, not just the 5 that were impacted by 1235. So as Kip and Scott, Caitlin, Todd, they're all having their conversations as we speak with our airports on Capitol. Like Greg noted, they're making sure to remind airports of this program. So they all know about it. It's really up to the airport to decide when and if they want to take advantage of it as part of it. Yeah.
Quick question, more of a reminder. Does this part of the House bill Does it have a sunset date or anything?
It does not, and at some point, we'll probably have to have that conversation once there's a full transition. I think certainly it's not our intent to subsidize fuel on an
Right.
ongoing basis once there's a fleet-wide replacement. And I think, as we've talked with many of our smaller airports, what we're gleaning from them is that rather than going out to build new infrastructure for a transition, they're gonna wait until there's a fleet-wide fuel that serves the vast majority of the airplanes, sell off all their underblow lead, change fuel filters, take a load of unleaded fuel and use the existing infrastructure. So I think that's one of the factors that as we've talked internally with our airports that we're seeing, that's not resulting in the smaller airports, looking for funding for new fuel farms. That said, we are going to talk a little bit later in the agenda about fuel farms and some of our funding because we are seeing more interest in that. Which we further from time to time, but not all that.
I just got another question. So Rocky Mountain Metro for the 2026 subsidy funds, since they still don't have, they're still not selling unleaded fuel. Is this rolling over the subsidy that they had for fiscal year 2025?
They would be using that grant first before we would approve that contract.
Just since they
Absolutely.
haven't used anything.
We just wanted to let you know what they've all thrown in for as
Okay.
applied for. Now, just because they've applied for it doesn't necessarily mean we'll bring it to you for approval yet, if they
Yeah.
already have a grant.
You had just mentioned that Centennial hadn't extinguished their existing grant yet, so I wondered if the same.
Exactly, yep, exactly.
Thank you.
Those are all estimates, so we kind of give them a wag. Sometimes they might be for a year, turns out Centennial is doing properly.
It's a cool logo.
I think Sean put that together, right? Go, Sean.
Yeah,
That's
that's
very
cool.
Trademark it.
Yeah, excellent job.
Yeah, thank
Very cool. So, the other last thing I wanted to talk about real quickly, I sent you all an email, but I wanted to congratulate Kip Plain, who was promoted last week to our new aviation manager planning position. So Kip, look forward to that. In his new role, we're going to be, we'll talk a little bit later about this, we're going to be orient our geographical planners representation across the state. Kip is going to be responsible for the 5 airports subject to 1235, which already are today because they all have.
That is true.
But then we're also going to have Kip take over the planning for some of the more complex commercial service airports that involve some interesting combinations of federal and other funding. So we'll let you know on that. The challenge I have right now is there's a hiring freeze with government forces. I go backfill his current position, but I'm going to plead my case with the executive director in a couple of weeks when we have my meeting or something to be posted on how to backfill. But congratulations, Kip. And before we move on, Mr. Chair, I just want to give Kip a minute. It's no coincidence that we're all aligned underneath this step 15. I want to give Kip a moment to share a cool story about his background on this particular aircraft and why it's special.
Awesome, thank you. So first, I just want to say thank you for all the kind words and well-wishing and congratulatory messages responding to Dave's email. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Got big, huge shoes to fill, and I'm just gonna do my level best to honor that position the best I possibly can. So thank you so much. I'm incredibly, very, very honored and grateful to just be a part of the division as it is. So yes, this big, gorgeous hunk of metal that you guys are sitting under, this is one of my girls. And so I just want to tell you or remind you to be very careful standing up under that missile because this girl will bite you. And so we've all got scars somewhere on our backs or heads or something from working on. But I spent 26 years serving in the United States Air Force as an aircraft maintainer. Specifically, I was trained to be a jet engine specialist. And so after that's what I did for my entire career was either as a flight line engine technician or a back shop engine technician, and then a supervisor and a manager before I retired as a senior master sergeant in 2014. 15 years of my career was spent working on these F-15s on the flight line at numerous bases around the world. Particularly Eglin Air Force Base, Bitburg Air Base, Eglin Air Force Base, Florida, Bitburg Air Base, Germany, where this girl is from, Spangdahlem Air Base, Germany, and Kadena Air Base in Okinawa. So I was extremely excited to find out that we were having this meeting here, and I just jumped up and made sure that we were going to have it right here under the wing. So a little bit about this jet. I won't go into the entire story, but this aircraft was at Bitburg Air Base and serving with the 22nd Fighter Squadron prior to my arrival in November 1990. And I was at Bitburg from 1990 to April 1994. And that is when she left to go to the Air National Guard. She served with the several Guard units, but finished out with the Oregon Air National Guard. And I don't remember the exact date that she was retired to the Boneyard, but I think it was somewhere like 2012 or something like that. Our maintenance officer at Bitburg, his name is Glenn Davis. He was a captain at the time. He eventually rose to the rank of two-star general. And he found out that this jet was sitting at the Boneyard in line for possible scrapping. So the significance of this airplane is that it served in the Gulf War and was responsible for an aerial victory over an Iraqi Air Force MiG-23. And then when it came back to Germany after the war, it became naturally our squadron flagship. And so General Davis wanted to preserve it. So he finagled a whole bunch of administrative stuff. Sweet talked a bunch of people, got the jet, and then found a home for it. And that home was here. And these guys did a phenomenal job. I can't express it enough that they did a pretty awesome job. I'm sorry. This thing looks almost like it did when it left the military, and it just is pristine. So they even got all the details in the cockpit covered. There's some sound effect right there, right? So I mean, this is probably going to be one of the best preserved examples of an F-15 that's available for the public to see. So, and we got a big killer here in Colorado. So I won't go on and on because I can go on and on. I will go on and on and on. So if any of you want me to go on and on about working F-15s and being around jets all day, please hit me up. I'm more than happy to blab your ears off for it. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to financial update. Price?
Well, I think the only thing that can follow that up is numbers, obviously. For revenue, in September, revenue came in at 4.3 million. It was 91% of the 4.7 million forecast, up 100,000 from August, which was just slightly there, and then up quite a bit from the previous fiscal year as well. Our year-to-date revenue is 13.3 million. Forecast remains at 50 million. It's the end of the quarter, so time to revise it, but we don't need to. We're trending right as we expect it to be for the year. So thankfully, we're not having the same issues that we had last year at the start of the fiscal year with revenue not being there. I know I have the United update after, but the first 3 months of this year, if there is a variance, it's certainly within the realm of us not noticing. So it's not reported specifically on here at balance because it's certainly within the realm of possibility. And then I'll talk about United further from that. But revenue wise, we're right on track to where we thought we would be. It's been a healthy summer. Obviously volume up, prices have been up and down, but still kind of in that 65 range. So nothing out of the ordinary here. We're trending exactly as we expected to be revenue wise. From a cash balance standpoint, we finished September at 23.9 million, which was down 400,000 from the end of August. It was less than we anticipated dropping, simply because the drawdowns we thought was going to come in didn't. They have this month, so we're going to see that up once we come in with October numbers here. So we did mention that revenues staying high. We'll see likely the slight decreases. It's going to be a little more than slight because we did get the Walton grant closed off, which was the big mover, and a few other ones as well. So nothing to be alarmed about. It's exactly what we expected to happen here through the fall as we drop down with construction season winding up and the airport's getting grants and stuff. And some of big chunks, some of them like Daniel and 30 small chunks. But yeah, so we're definitely in the drawdown season and seeing that on the cash balance, but that's expected. That's good. We're doing what we expected to do there. As we look at our contingency balance, you'll see kind of that cash drop there, which is expected. We are still on track to finish 2026, FY 2026 to be clear, above 20 million in revenue. And then as we look forward out, we keep seeing
drops as we have that 13-month out or 12-month out where we drop down to the worst case. So again, this isn't the most likely scenario. This is halfway through, doomsday hits, and that's why we show this to say, hey, crap happens, we're still in good shape as far as that goes. Like I said, prices averaging around $65 a barrel for oil right now. Denver pumping out 47.5 million gallon month over the last 12 months. So every month new record is still the trend there. But yeah, overall cash balance isn't the same overall status as it has when we've got cash on hand to handle most of the grants that are out there and the revenues coming in, cover that. Factor in, we are showing this year that the SIB balance there, that top line there, if we ever needed to touch what's in there, I mean, we're remarkably healthy all the way through FY 27, even with that drop down scenario. So overall, we're still great shape. We're exactly where we expected we would be at this stage. Admin expenses, 3 months into the fiscal year, we're about 162,000 in spend. Forecast is 860, which is below our budgeted amount of 900,000. As is, that would still be about a 3.8% balance of our FY 25 revenue, which we know is artificially low anyways because of the United filing issue back last fiscal year. But again, we're not in any risk of coming up against cap concerns or anything like that. So nothing out of the ordinary there, following the expected trend lines. And then the final graphic, again, is the fuel flow at Denver. September came in at 48.5 million gallons, the highest September on record. 18 straight months of all-time monthly highs. That was down 4% from August's 50.7 million gallons and up 7% year over year. As you can see, it followed the same trend line we usually see there, where August higher, September dips. October is usually flat-ish. They're forecasting an increase to 50.7 million for October filings. I think it'll probably end up being a little more flat than what the graph is showing there, but again, we're in the ballpark of what we're expecting here. No reason to think that's going to change, even with the ATC issues. That's the financial report. Everything is trending as expected to be. There's no real hiccups, and cash balance is doing what it's supposed to be right now. But happy to answer any questions on anything covered or any other ones that you guys have fiscally.
Thank you, Bryce. Questions? Okay, let's move on to the United update.
United update, I'm going to skip down a little bit because a lot of it you have kind of already seen there, but we did have some updates here this month. October 2025 update, I added a column on the graph to show Suncor transactions and potential impact. I've referenced previously that I expected the spike in their reporting was due to picking up United transactions. Never had it confirmed from DOR until this last month here. Where they did say they believe Suncor is part of that. So I threw those numbers on there, and you'll see where I'm kind of talking at the low end of 4.5, 5.5-ish. That's where that number was coming from, as if that was included in there. So that does show on the little graph that we have. But the what's next part is certainly interesting, prompted by CWSW director reaching out to the DOR director. We finally had some tangible traction on the issue. I met with a team of folks from DOR about a month ago. To walk through the issues in detail, explaining the statewide impacts, why we think our numbers are right, what our process is. They did agree that there appears to be a shortfall. They were pretty impressed that we were on top of it, like the first month that showed up and had reached out. Apparently not a lot of other divisions do that. So they're working with the fuel vendor contacts at United to get a list of any and all vendors who've been providing them with jet fuel since 2024. At that point, they're making sure the filings make sense. If they're anything off or resistance to refiling, they plan to use the data that I've given them to provide that as an assessment to each vendor, which they're then liable to pay, or provide audited payment amounts of what should be correct based on their actual books. And then if DR is unhappy or they refuse to do that, it'll result in a full audit of those companies. So they can't, because of privacy issues, they can't really give us updates on, hey, this is where it's at. But they were able to just say that they are progressing through what they need to on their end. So yes, that's the update there. Like I said, the updated financial impact between 4.7 to 8.6 million is what I'm expecting. We're missing in revenue for last fiscal year, which ironically lines up with some of the financial meetings I've had with CDOT as far as, hey, why was this down 8 million this year? Well, I have the exact answer for you. So It lines up with what we're expecting, what we expected to have based on everything. So it's pretty safe assurance that we're missing something out there. I mean, you don't have all the years of data that we have and let it fall off a bucket like that without it being something out of the ordinary. So that's the United update. I will keep giving you guys any specific updates on this every month until it is resolved, but it's out of our hands at this point, and DOR is following up with what they can do. I was surprised that they were just going to use the assessment number we had and give it to all the vendors and say, you owe this, or prove that you don't. And that's apparently the process they have. So they were quite happy to have that. They're setting up a quarterly meeting with us and other vendors as well, because they want me to walk through what we're doing to track things like that, so that other state agencies can try to fix something similar to helping out with the assessment on their end. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Great to hear the progress. Thank you.
I don't have a question. I do have a comment. I am also impressed that you have such an organized system that you saw it immediately. Every time you give us one of these reports, I'm increasingly impressed at how on top of this you are every time. Like,
appreciate
this
that.
is really amazing, and I think the whole state would probably benefit from your attention to detail on these things.
When it's statutorily such a relatively short time, they have to actually collect this money, 3 years, and then it's too bad. They gotta be on top of it, especially when we're talking numbers that impact the division as much as they are. It's like 17% of our revenue last year missing for this. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Bryce.
Yep.
So this is not United, it's really the vendors and the
Yeah.
change. But I know United, we got them interested in the topic and a few other ones possible. What was their statement? Did they contact you all?
UR was gonna contact United.
Okay.
They statutorily cannot tell me what the updates and stuff were. So based on the information I had, I assume that has happened, because they're gonna go to them. Who should we be hitting up? And United should have that because they know who they're doing. Yes, when I am saying United, it's not United's fault in any of this. It's the vendors supplying them the fuel. They wouldn't be on the hook to be the ones reporting this stuff. So it's not United's the general term, because that's what changed, and that is where we know the fuel is going to based on things.
I date myself, if anybody remembers the 1985 movie Better Off Dead, John Stack, and the kid riding by that delivers the papers, it just goes around yelling, I want my $2. Bryce is getting a bike. You haven't seen that movie, don't watch it. Sorry.
Great job. Right. This is a work problem though. And, you know, like, just to echo what everyone said, it's really impressive how on top of it you were, but also just your persistence and not this. You know, I just imagine there's like a hole in your pocket wall. But I am told there's not.
My door was closed, but Caitlin said she overheard a few loud voices.
Thank you for me.
Thank you, Bryce. Mr. Planning Director.
Thank you very much. Yes, you never imagined you'd get so much KIP in one meeting, so. I have, for the grant administrative, update, looks like we have 4, supplemental grant requests and, 2 new intern, grants, coming down the pike here. So the first one is for Southeast Colorado Regional Airport at Lamar. They, had requested and have been approved to amend grant 24 LAA01, for a second time with an additional $22,978 in state funding to match some extra AIP funding that the feds found to assist with the rehab of their taxiway Alpha project. Eagle County Regional Airport was administratively approved to amend grant 25 EGE01 with $45,777 to match additional FAA funding for participation in a federally funded taxiway Bravo construction. Ray Municipal Airport was administratively approved to amend grant 23 2 Victor 501 with $7,632 to match additional AIP and IIJA funds. So that's the former bill/AIG funding to put toward their taxiway Alpha North Taxi Lane construction project. Ray Municipal Airport again was approved to amend grant 25 2 Victor 501 with an additional $11,569 in CDAG funds to match additional AIP funding for another phase of the taxiway Alpha construction project. On to inter-grant requests, Durango La Plata County Regional Airport was approved to support the hiring of one airport operations intern who will participate in the airport's airport management internship program that will last up to 26 weeks. The division has provided 50% match on a $22 per hour wage. And last, Greeley-Weld County Airport was approved for funding to support the hiring of one candidate who will participate in GXY's airport management internship program that will last up to 1 year. And we are matching 50% on $21 per hour wage. And that's all of that. Any questions?
Thank you, Kip. Okay, let's go to item number 9, state grant assurances. Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The staff is here before all of you today to request approval of the revised set of the state grant assurances that specifically clarifies the useful life of the relation to structure. And just by way of background, since none of you were on the board in 2018 when the CAB adopted the first ever grant assurances of the CAB funding. Those are conditions that are attached to our grants that specify different things that the grant recipient has to comply with in order to continue health support funding. They've been incorporated for every grant we've issued since 2019. First year. Historically, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, aviation fueling infrastructure has been funded. It's always been eligible. And that typically consists of permanent above ground storage tanks, required containment, site prep, utilities, planning, design, all the things that go along with it. But with our current transition to unleaded avgas and the ongoing interest that we're getting from some of our airports, some interest, we're getting more interest in fuel farms than we have stored permanent and potentially otherwise. So what's come about from that is we realized when you look at the useful life table to the insurances, there's nothing specific for aviation fuel storage. Depending on how you look at it, it can be construction or it can be considered equipment, both of which have different useful lives and part of the insurances today. So as we got some inquiries with airports, started talking about it in our staff, we thought we'd have an opportunity to clarify this for stakeholders. So in a nutshell, what we have specifically are requesting of you is one additional project type under table 1 grant assurance system says that permanent aviation fuel farms, including storage tanks, dispensing vehicles, and related equipment, have a useful life of 15 years. Airport takes a way to develop fuel farm. They're bound by the contract terms for 15 years. That said, we added a little asterisk to that. Certainly not our intent to apply a 15-year useful life to a temporary transition. We'll take this incentive to airports that would want that. So we added language that would say temporary, non-permanent storage equipment such as tank trailers, skid-mounted self-contained storage tanks that is used exclusively to facilitate the transition from 100 low-lead avgas to unleaded avgas is not subject to any specific useful life because it's temporary. You can take it, pick it up, put it somewhere else, and it's easy to repurpose. You can't really do that to permanent. So that's the recommendation, Mr. Chair, that we're making is to approve those revised grant assurances with that clarification on the useful life for aviation fuel farms. There are no other changes.
Great. Would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there a discussion?
I have a question. First, kudos to clarifying this that I think is very important. I'm trying to capture in a simple, succinct way, kind of cover a wide variety of assets and capital investments. You know, should there be a situation where the investment made doesn't fit neatly with the decent made 15-week amount that I would have for it? And this is a more universal question across all these categories. Is it
They can certainly come to us and say, we don't think this is adequately addressed in our assurances, and we've come back to all of you to do that. But with the state, it's like, this is the contract, for our money. This is the contract. But if there is one that we need to add and talk about, we're happy to do that. This is just the one we came up as. But the rest of it,
we're just thinking if there's, something that comes, in the future where it's like, oh, this asset, which should have a useful life as X, it loses relevance. That's something that we as a board could probably deal with as it relates to active contracts. You can always lessen the requirements that way.
It could be, and I think the one that would come to my mind, Angela, would be electric aircraft charging infrastructure.
Yeah.
You could consider that equipment that probably doesn't have a 10-year lifespan. It's probably something less than that, based on what I've understood from the CDOT give reports on the Navy side. So we don't have any of those yet. When we do, we learn more about it. We may come back and say, oh, we might make an extra call out for electric aircraft charging infrastructure. It doesn't fit neatly into one of these existing 10 or so categories. We would add one to that or something else that might get identified. So you all have the unilateral flexibility to change these as we see fit. And then we just go and add them to our contracts when we execute our grants. So this set of assurances would be effective with our 2026 cycle.
Just want to bring up that I'm very appreciative that you've made this change. I realize there's every sort of airport's different and has its own things. And this has been, I think, barrier for a lot of airports because it's sort of this weird gray area. And I think removing disincentives to make this transition, even if it's just offering the opportunity for those pilots who are interested in using the unleaded fuel to be able to do so. I realize it's not forcing the change, it's just offering additional opportunity. This makes it easier for airports to do that, I think, which is the spirit of the bill. And so I appreciate this clarification because it is nice to have something very clear and definite to point at to say, here's the answer to this question that so far has been unanswerable. So thank you for this clarification.
Great. Okay, education outreach. Well, I go. Thank you, Mr. Butts. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. All right. Let's move on to program updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Aviation Education and Workforce Development Grant Program application window opened on October 1st, and it runs through December 15th. And then after that, we will put together a panel and kind of go through our recommendations. We will take that to CAB in January of next year. And then we're gonna show you a video. This was Mancos School District. They actually, they have a student who's an intern in a drone career right now in their high school, and he put together this video. And I just want to kind of read you. There's no sound to it, so I'm going to read you the thank you letter that we got from the school district. I think it's really important to see the impact that the CAB has on education, aviation education specifically within the state of Colorado. So,
Hetty, did you say Mancos?
Mancos,
Okay.
yes. This funding has been transformational for our district. It allowed us to establish a drones program that provides modern, hands-on training in aviation technology, equipping students with the tools, certifications, and confidence needed to pursue careers in aviation, aerospace, and related industries. Through your investment, students are flying industry-standard drones, earning college credit, pursuing FAA certifications, and even starting small businesses that directly serve our community. As a small rural district with limited resources, these opportunities would not have been possible without your support. Our students, many of whom face financial barriers or live in remote areas near the New Mexico border, the Southern Ute tribes, and the Navajo Nation, are now able to access aviation pathways that would otherwise be out of reach. This has created not only educational growth, but also pride and excitement throughout our schools and community. We are deeply appreciative that the Colorado Division of Aeronautics chose to invest in our district. Your partnership has allowed us to launch a program that will impact students for years to come, and we are committed to building on this foundation to expand opportunities in aviation education. Thank you again for believing in our students and their futures. We look forward to sharing the continued successes of the Mancos School District Drones program with you.
Very nice.
This one was really cool. This is the first applicant we've had that's really given us a note like that. And it all kind of touched all of us on the team pretty equally. It's cool to see what we're doing and not just put grants out with different dollars. It really has an impact on communities and kids like this. So it's pretty inspirational for us, I think, and we look forward to hoping to get more of our recipients to share their stories as they go and when we're done back with all the data. So this was pretty cool. Sean was going to do an interpretive dance with the anyways, it's really cool.
The drone footage is a lot smoother than it appears. It doesn't look like it's sharing very well. So, but anyway, very cool presentation.
Wow.
Is there a place for that on the website, on the division website?
You shared it up on Facebook, I believe, right, Sean, this video?
I have not shared this.
Okay,
No.
okay.
Very nice.
It might be nice if we share it to press.
Yeah,
Good
absolutely.
idea too.
Might be the JLPA on this video.
That would be cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Great. Cool.
So September was a super busy month, probably the busiest month of the year as far as events in aviation, probably because Colorado in September is so incredibly spectacular. So the first three photos are from the Challenge Air event, Challenge Air for Kids. It's pilots, they fly special needs kids. I think they flew 82 that day. That was September 13th. They did that. So it creates such a huge impact. It's really cool. They call them VIPs. So that's really fun. And that's my future bonus son helping me out on the simulator. Yeah. Yeah. And then the young lady that you see in the middle, she had her flight suit on. So we decided to change it up and give her an F-16 to fly. Okay, great. Bottom left, at the NASAO conference in Alaska, the NASAO Education Committee had a panel, and it was called the Chart Your Course, Create a Flight Plan to Engage Tomorrow's Aviation Workforce. So we basically took the Youth Access to Aviation Jobs in America, that was the report that was put out by the FAA, and kind of did a whole framework of how states can meet some of those challenges. So, and we had 4 different representatives, obviously, from different states. And then also on the end, the young lady in the blue, she is from Vertical Aviation International. So, and they have really great programs in Utah specifically, and North Dakota, Oklahoma. And I think I might be talking to her next week about trying to get something implemented in Colorado, which would be fantastic. And then bottom right, that is the F-18 that was flown in the movie Top Gun Maverick. And that was for a Top Gun event at the end of September. So it was a really cool event. Also had the opportunity to go to the Colorado Aviation Hall of Fame banquet, which was put on by the Colorado Aviation Historical Society. And just some highlights, Bill Standifer was honored as one of their laureates this year. And then we have past laureates, just kind of wanted to point those out. In the middle, that is Colonel James Harvey III. He is probably one of the last 2 original Tuskegee Airmen alive. Incredible history. He just turned 102 for him. At his table was seated Mr. Barbo, who just turned 101. So pretty incredible to kind of be in their presence, honestly. And on your right there, that is Orson Swindell. He is a 6-time military decoration award recipient. Incredible story. He was a POW for about 7 years. At one point, one of his cellmates was John McCain. But I just kind of wanted to throw that one in there as well. It's such an incredible banquet. So if you ever have the opportunity to go to it, I highly encourage you to do that. That's it for my report.
Great. Thank you, Heidi. Digital Tower, Bill.
Okay, Well, I've got a little slide presentation here, but what I'd like to do is also bring you up to speed on where we are. Since the shutdown, the contractors are still able to work. They're still getting paid. So they've completed batch 4 testing. They did that last week, and they're going to move into batch 5 testing theoretically week after next. So we'll see how that turns out, but they're moving forward pretty good. So what we have here is I put together a little decision tree to show you what my idea of how things might work. And before I do that, the thing here is just to start a conversation and start people thinking about it. For example, if FNL decides to go with a digital tower, then they would be in a position to be able to accrue funds from the FAA. If that were the case, there are two paths to take. One is they would just simply be a single airport. The other would be you could go into a front range digital tower center. Now, I've been asked that center has got a particular connotation. And so if anybody has a better idea as to what we would call it, that was, someone suggested that hub is a good idea. The reason I did that is because that's what it's called in Europe. So it's something that the FAA would recognize. If FNL decides we're not going to pursue that particular course of action, the next thing would be to follow a West Slope Digital Tower Center or Hub. And for the 6 airports that we've discussed, we've been talking to Angela regarding putting the facility at her airport for a couple of different reasons. Number one is cost of living for controllers is considerably different, less there in Grand Junction as opposed to some of our mountain airports. And the Digital Tower Center, unless, Sean, did you do the next one?
Yep. And real quick, Bill, before you do that, just to fill you in on what's going on up at FNL, we just had an email exchange with John Kinney, the airport director up there, as we alluded to before. They're still on a fence about whether they want to pursue a traditional tower or continue on the digital tower. The other nuance up there, I think you also all know, they're in the process of transitioning from a joint city or management structure to an airport authority. In the interim, they're getting ready to sunset their existing airport commission. And then in the interim, the airport director will report to the 2 city managers that will then in the interim, those 2 city managers, their councils will make decisions related to the airport, including probably making a decision, as I read his email, on what they will do with the digital remote tower, but they keep kind of kicking that down the road. So we're still, we've told FNL we're ready to help either way, but we're just waiting on them to decide which option is best for them. So it didn't mean to interrupt you, Bill. I just wanted to share that latest info from John Kinney, and I think their plan is to have their airport already set up ready and next year.
So, well, and so the Digital Tower Center would start out, I think the FAA would be risk averse to come in with 6 airports. So the idea would be to select one key site airport and put that in, build a facility so that it could be expanded to accommodate up to 6 of our mountain airports. The key site would be once it's installed, and to verify that the remoting of the equipment and the air traffic control is feasible, then we could bring in other airports. Okay, and then I'll show you the next. That's what the full build out would look like. Obviously, this is just a schematic of what the system would look like. I put some various things in there to show what the components of the minimum equipment list are. All right, in the next slide.
Bill, is that like a standard like Connex type building, or
it could be anything. Okay. I mean, the facility itself is it could be a Connex building. It could be,
if it was like one of those prefab ones you just bring on a trailer and
yeah.
dump
In fact, there's a company in Denver, Joaquin Industries, that produces these facilities for the FAA.
Oh, okay.
And I've used them before to do ILSs and some comm things. But that would be, it would be a system where we would plan ahead to be able to expand it to cover those 6 airports. Next slide. All right, this is what it would look like if we decided to go with the Front Range. And if FNL were to say, we want to be part of a digital tower hub, they could have, I would look at Greeley being the next one, because Greeley could really use air traffic control, because that is a really busy little airport. They're extremely busy. So those are just some of the ideas to kind of noodle around. Right, show on the next slide. Now here, I put down what Bill considers to be the way to fund this. The FAA currently has a $50 million pot of money that they've allocated for digital/remote tower development. Now, the next gen has indicated to us that they would look favorable on us, the state of Colorado, because of our past work with them and with the digital tower, remote tower system. The idea would be that the center itself, or the hub itself, would be under the control of a single entity. I suggested the Aeronautics Board. The FAA is not going to want to give that to a single airport, and I don't think a single airport would want to take that responsibility. Do you think he wouldn't want to do that? Or 6 other airports, 5 other airports? I didn't think so. But I mean, most airport managers, I mean, they're up to here anyway. So, and it would be an entity that would be able to administer this in such a way as not to be, preferential to any one airport. The funding for that particular facility would come from the FAA and to build that facility. Now, that could also be administered by a third party. I don't know who that would be. In some discussions I've had, it's been suggested maybe the FAA. I would not want to get them involved. I just didn't want to get involved. Anyway, and the idea would be that each of the individual airports would, as soon as the system design approval of this has been achieved, that the airports, each airport, for their own airport infrastructure, would get an AIP grant for that. I've discussed this with the ADO manager in some detail, and I'm suggesting we go back and discuss it a little bit further. Because then it would be eligible under the legislation to do that. This is a fairly, Europe is doing this currently. Europe is in the process of having these centers that control numerous airports. So let's see the next slide. Now this just is you can't read that, but the top thing that just shows you how big the facility might be. They're for different, those are the rooms that you're going to need. Those are the facilities you're going to need. Below that is a staffing plan, which I've worked out with 2 of the FCT contractors, Serco and Midwest. The beauty of this is that you're going to be able to save or have a more efficient staffing level. Because typically an FCT, a federal contract tower, the normal cadre is 5 controllers. Now that sometimes includes the airport manager, sometimes it doesn't. But what I'm suggesting is those will be able to save that number of controllers. Plus, the controllers would get multiple CTOs, where certified tower operator certificates, which what a controller gets when they go to a new facility. That way they could backfill should one of the airports become busier or they have some staffing issue. So that's basically the general idea of what I've talked to the FAA about this, and I expect them to, I expected them to get really, just, no, we're not gonna do it. But this is of particular interest to some of the congressional folks. And so that's what I'm proposing we look at that. Because Colorado is in a good position to take it over. Currently, Bartow, Florida has got a system already installed, a frequency system. It has not been, it wasn't installed in accordance with the requirements that are going into the system design approval process at Texas. So in order for them to go forward, they would have to have that certified. They want to bring in Winter Haven, Florida, which is 8 miles away, and have a digital tower center there. So, and I've worked a little bit with the airport manager down there. Good guy up there, everything. So, and another thing, just share this with you. The IG report, Inspector General report on next gen. But next gen started in 2003. Next gen has only accomplished 16% of what they had said they would do. And they have managed to spend 36 billion of our dollars. So that's one of the reasons I would want to have those folks involved. Now the FAA, I think there's quite a bit of interest in this. As I said in my little report, the NATCA president at the NATCA conference they had, CFS, Communicating for Safety, got up and the administrators made a real good pitch for this, the new Brian Bedford, the new administrator. So there's some momentum behind this. But anyway, if there are any questions or comments, I'll take those.
Yeah, the other question I've been being asked is, okay, and I haven't never remembered to do it until now. The system that we funded up the FNL, was taken over by Frequentis. That system went down to the landing test center to be tested. When it comes out of there after it's approved, who owns the intellectual property?
Frequentis does.
It'll be Frequentis.
And so the system, if and that's an interesting thing, not knowing what FNL wants to do, if they, when they get through all this process, if they decide to go that way, they could, without the boards and without the divisions involved, could apply for AIP funds to get to them. FAA more than likely would prefer to work directly with the division since they know us. So
I'm just curious, the $8.9 million that we invested, with a different vendor, but that doesn't drive. We don't have any ownership in the end result. We do that going in, right? I assume that we did.
One of the risks that the board at that time took.
Yeah.
Development.
And it makes a lot of sense. But once it comes out, that's so. I'm curious where Frequentis will be. They'll have an approved system.
Right, the system will be approved. All the on-airport, the infrastructure that's there now has been approved. The only change that we'd want to possibly make would be to the center mass.
Right.
So, like I said, I've been, they have been talking about adding a second floor to their terminal. Don't know where that came from.
So if FNL decides to go with a traditional tower, one that would be a contract tower, right? It would not a bay tower. And how much roughly would it cost to put that up?
12 to 15 million.
And how much do you think it would cost to implement the Frequentis system?
Well, there are two. So right now, it would probably be in the order of five to 6 million. Because of all the investment that's already been.
But the city would have to pay for the tower, the FAA would pay for the digital tower.
They would, what they would probably do is try to go for bill funds.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is, there are an awful lot of applicants that want that money. And so that's one of the things that they're gonna run into.
But, a lot of the infrastructure things, I'm just trying to rationalize why the city would go down a traditional tower, path after, and with our support, this far with, but a new solution that has applicability across the country.
Well, I will tell you that there are some folks there that do not want to go with that. Additional tower.
That's helpful.
So, Mr. Chair, with all of this, I think the key takeaway here is we don't know what we don't know yet. And it's something that I'm thinking about, our team's thinking about continuously about how we might make this happen, how we might leverage some of that 50 million. One of the things we're unclear on is how does that money go anywhere? The organization that it's been allocated to, ATO, doesn't do grants. And so we have under statute the ability to accept federal funding for a project that benefits one or more airports for a statewide benefit. I guess Barbara helped kind of clarify that and some other things because we've never done that before. We've only taken federal money to do something for us.
Sorry, we have one.
So we want to make sure that we have some more information before we come to you with any proposals. A lot of things that this might entail, we're not structured, staffed, resourced, or have the expertise. Quite honestly, we'd have to look somewhere else to do it. So a lot of unknowns. Bill and I had planned to go to DC at the end of the month, visit with FAA to talk some more about this, but I think we're going to put that probably on hold given the shutdown. No one's there. We're also going to visit with Senator Hickenlooper's team and Representative Byrd's team as they're on key aviation committees, but I think they've got other things on their plate, so we'll probably still try to make that visit just so you're not having to. I just want to give you some food for thought about how we're doing. We've encouraged FNL to do the digital tower route in the end. It really is up to them what they want to do, but I think they've been kicking the can down the road now, Bill, on that decision for about a year. So I'll be curious to see if the two city councils and what the airport finally was the final direction.
Thank you, Bill. Other questions? Okay. All right, let's surplus sale recap. Todd.
So, I am happy to say Caitlin is actually on the Zoom. I wasn't quite sure if she was going to be, so I threw my name on it, but you know how excited she is to talk about surplus, so I will throw it to Caitlin instead. Thank you, Caitlin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Todd, thanks for letting me take this back. As most of you in the room know, the CAB approved $1 million for surplus sale equipment in January. The sale happened on September the 10th, and we had a lot less equipment available this year. There were only 22 pieces available this year, but we still sold 7 pieces of equipment to 6 airports. They only purchased from Denver and Colorado Springs, but the total airports that had equipment available for sale included Colorado, Denver, Junction, Spaceport, and Durango. All those grants have been executed, and now we're just waiting for final payments to happen. Like I said, much smaller sale than we've had previously, but it still touched each of the planning regions, and we're still forwarding the mission of getting this equipment out to new spots for additional useful life. So I look forward to next year's sale being amazing and fantastically big again. But this year's sale was, even though it was a lot smaller, was still a success in getting stuff out to the airports. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caitlin. Any questions for Caitlin? Okay, let's go on to legislative updates.
Got one for you at the state level, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Every year, CDOT puts together a technical cleanup bill that is designed to correct things, administrative updates, just real simple corrections to the language that affects CDOT. The one that we're working on right now with our legislative affairs, state legislative liaison, Emily, is wanting to clean up how we move funds back and forth between the SIB account and our 160 account. Recall 3 years ago, we removed the TC from the approval process for our aviation loans. The only touch point the TC still has with our SIB fund is you all have the approval unilaterally to move money from Fund 160 into the SIB, which we've done previously. You gotta have TC approval to take that, because that's in statute. It's not one to correct internally. So nobody has any issues with that. It's in the technical cleanup bill, which got several other things affecting CDOT. It's pretty non-controversial. I'll keep it posted and it'll get put forth in the next legislative session. Once that is done, you all will have the ability to approve the movement of funds between SIB and the Fund 160 without having to go and wait for TC. You have to explain to UTC people what all that is about. So definitely will make us more efficient and more effective if and whenever. So that's the one state piece of legislation I'm aware of at this moment. And then, of course, the shutdown, you're all familiar with that. Not really having any direct impact on anything with us. Our FAA people are still working with us on grants and those kinds of things. I was talking to Steve a little bit about TSA because I'm flying tomorrow. What's going on? Hopefully they're all going to work and says okay. So, but we'll keep track of what's going on with that. But for now, there's not an impact. Shut down our day-to-day.
Great. Questions for Dave?
Add on one thing with that, because as we've looked at the shutdown, I should have covered this in my report, but the impacts of the airports right now are minimal. But for our airport and I think for other airports in the region, the environmental assessments are on pause. And so like for us, we have big power repairs. We historic building kind of clearances. We had a kind of a 45-day clock with the historic preservation group. I want to say when the shutdown took place October 1st, they were on like day 32 or something of their 45-day window. And so that is just paused. So just using that as an example, I think those are the kind of impacts that, as the days and weeks start to add up, are going to impact airports that might not be obvious on radars. Because we are just pushing the pause button. And work is just presumably piling up in those groups. So since we have this particular issue at our airport, I wanted to just bring that up as an overall risk that airports in Colorado face. I think there's other airports. We have an airport up the road who got EA approval right before the shutdown. That's pretty substantial. That it's great they snuck that in, but all of our partners at the engineering firm things, they're still working, everyone's still working so that, I think there's going to be a huge backlog in addition to just this pause and what that means. So,
good to know. Okay, proposed calendar.
Mr. Chair, our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, December 17th at 1 o'clock out of our offices. And as is the case with every December meeting, that will include a review of our upcoming 2026 state and local grants that we will present all of you for approval in January meeting. There. The other thing that will happen at that meeting is my annual performance review by all of you. Normally that would happen at this meeting in an executive session. We had a plan that the executive session was working clearly. So we're going to kick that down the road. So Kent will send out as the chair, like he did last year, the forms and all that. I think I might be the only person within CDOT that gets 3 performance reviews. I get one from you. I get one from Deputy Director Stockinger, who is my direct admin boss, and then one from the administrator, Executive Director Blue, CDOT boss. So yours is very valuable. I share that back with them. If you do, Kent, I appreciate that. So thank you for that. That will happen in December at executive session at the end of that meeting. And then as Steve mentioned, CAOA will be downtown at the Sonesta again on January 28th and 29th. Not quite sure yet what day our board meeting will be during that winter conference, but we'll work with CAOA to get that held down as soon as we're able to flag those dates. But one thing I wanted to ask all of you is that we have historically not sent out email calendar invites to all of you for the board meetings. Some of you have said, man, I'd love to get those. Would you all like Caitlin to send out for the whole year board meetings information with that and lunch and all that?
Yeah,
we'll do that. We'll start doing that. Previous boards have said, no, I want to do it myself. It just confuses me if you do it. So we will start doing that for, next meetings. We'll start having this.
And Dave Trimby pointed out, it should be January 27th, 2026.
Uh-oh, we all missed it. Boy, so much for QC on the board packet. Sorry.
You're gonna have to be here for the next meeting.
Okay, so even speaking, I think it's Wednesday, is that correct? So that'd be the 27th and 28th, not the 28th and 29th. Apologies. Sorry. That's it on the calendar.
Great, thank you, Dave. Are there any other matters? Very good, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Before y'all go, who's interested in the airport tour? Just so Greg would like one. I'm gonna wander around the museum.
We had an option for the one in June, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna do it in June at the conference. Okay.
Don't waste your time on just me.
I'm getting Kip to walk me around this F-15, right?
Yes.
I want to ask you if the tires were flat on the ones that he worked